Welcome back to another epic week of nuclear news. Let's stick with the facts and dive right into what went on this week. The Sprott Uranium Miners ETF up 15% year to date in 2023. The stock market only up 7%. So uranium miners continuing to outperform the broader financial complex. Now, why would that be the case? Because the resource that these miners are pulling out of the ground is getting scarcer and scarcer above ground. So Cameco came out and gave their 2022 results. And in that presentation, they provided this chart, which is showing the supply-demand fundamentals of uranium. So you see the projected demand high case, which is obviously the most realistic based on the fact that most projected demand base case models don't factor in future small modular reactor growth, U-turns by governments who are diving back into uranium with both feet, even though previously they said they were going to move away from it. Every week we get big announcements from countries just adopting nuclear, and it's not factored in, which is why the demand high case is most realistic. Then we look at the primary supply, which is projected to shrink at current levels, right? Secondary supply is staying flat. So in the long run, we need more of this resource out of the ground. The miners are the ones that have it. And so the prices are rising and outperforming the rest of the market. And so the biggest driver of the spot price activity is contracting. So when nuclear utilities acquire uranium from the mines, right, from the producers, that is what drives it. So let's stay on top of what is going on with the contracting. Well, Cameco announced 2022 results, strong market fundamentals captured in record long-term contracting of 80 million pounds uranium, 17 million kilograms uranium of conversion services, disciplined return to tier one run rate with exposure to improving prices. So Cameco's saying that they're not going to flood the market with uranium. They are disciplined. They're only putting out a little bit, keeping the above ground supply scarce if Cameco is disciplined, like they and Kazatomprom have been saying they will be. So we have record contracting in 2022. Then in 2023, Cameco and Energoatom agreed on commercial terms to supply Ukraine's full natural uranium needs through 2035 in a 12-year deal of up to 67 million pounds of uranium, largest contract in Cameco's history. So already seeing pretty massive contracting in 2023 as utilities scramble to acquire more and more uranium. On top of that, you have available uranium getting even scarcer. U.S. will eventually ban Russian uranium imports. Former U.S. Energy Secretary Ernest Moniz said the U.S. will eventually ban the import of Russian uranium and enriched reactor fuel. There's a reason the United States government is paying local producers higher than spot price to produce and provide uranium to a national reserve, right? They're trying actively to move away from Russia. That's just going to cause the above ground supply in the West to be scarce, as we know, because 28% of US enriched uranium comes from Russia and 31% of it goes to Europe. So where are these countries going to get it? Well, they're going to have to find other sources in the West, which we know, based on the supply curve that Cameco is projecting, is clearly not enough to meet this demand from Russia. In the meantime, on the supply side, Yellow Cake, which is a Wall Street firm, buys 1.4 million pounds of uranium from Kazatomprom. So you have the Wall Street companies like Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, Yellow Cake acquiring, taking as much physical supply off the market as they possibly can. This is just one example. And on a smaller note, you have countries not realizing how badly the world is going to need above ground supply of uranium because they're making decisions like this. Ministry upholds Berkeley license denial. Spain's Ministry for Ecological Transition and the Demographic Challenge has upheld its refusal to authorize Berkeley Energia to build a uranium processing plant of the company's Salamanca project in Western Spain. So you still have countries trying to resist uranium, which is, again, just making the supply even scarcer. So we've covered lots of brand new reasons why the above ground supply of uranium is scarce and getting scarcer. Let's cover the demand side. Let's see what the demand picture for uranium looks like just based on new developments this week. Rolls-Royce SMR signs agreement that could see reactors deployed in the 2030s in Poland. Nuclear plants could produce hydrogen and decarbonize regional energy infrastructure. France approves study on extending nuclear reactors' life. France approved looking into the possibility of extending the lifespan of nuclear reactors to 60 years and beyond if safety rules allow it, the French presidency said. So again, previous demand projections did not factor all this in, but every week we get new developments like this. They want to extend the life of the nuclear reactors, which is going to require more and more uranium fuel. Japan formally adopts policy of using nuclear reactors beyond 60 years. This is happening everywhere, not just in France. France considers tapping savers for nuclear reactor funding. Paris looking at using proceeds from centuries-old saving account to help finance $50 billion project. We've covered how they're investing in nuclear, getting creative, trying to find whatever money they possibly can to finance growth in these assets. Several universities to experiment with micro nuclear power. The next big thing in nuclear power could be tiny little reactors that are far smaller, far cheaper than the traditional massive nuclear plants topped by giant concrete cooling towers. And then you have everyone's favorite person in the world. If he's not your favorite, you have to acknowledge that he's incredibly influential and wealthy. Bill Gates, nuclear waste is not a reason to avoid nuclear energy. The waste problem should not be a reason to not do nuclear. The volume of nuclear waste is very small and can be stored safely and cost effectively. Currently in the US, nuclear waste is stored in dry casks, which are stainless steel canisters surrounded by concrete. So you have one of the richest and influential men in the world pumping uranium.